So these are some basic movements that we can do with dumbbells. First, we're going to focus on lower body exercises. I'm going to grab my dumbbells, I'm going to set them to neutral grip, and then I'm going to stand at shoulder width. Next, I'm going to lightly pronate or externally rotate my toes outward. I'm going to sit into my squat. Now this squat formation with the dumbbells is primarily for the quadriceps and then secondarily for the posterior and hamstrings. So the goal is to get anything from 8 to 15 repetitions with these dumbbells. Next is going to be the Romanian deadlifts. So this time I want to stand with my hips at a neutral position. My feet are in alignment with my knees and my ankles because I want to focus on loading my posterior. So next I'm going to set my rib cage and my chest to a high position. This is good posture. And then I'm going to drop my rib cage so that my ribs are sitting right above my hips. Next I'm going to look downward at an angle. I'm going to push my hips back, keeping the dumbbells in close proximity, and lightly flex my knees at the bottom. As I push up, I want to push more from the heel to engage my posterior. And again, this is another exercise, 8 to 15 repetitions. The next setup would be the hip bridge. So I'm going to lie in this supine position with my knees flexed and my heels on the floor. Next, I'm going to take my dumbbell, place it to my hips. Note, it's not sitting on my hip bone, it's sitting right on the tissue, the muscle tissue of my quadricep. So here, I'm going to elevate, squeezing my posterior, and then drop back down. Squeezing my posterior means I'm squeezing my butt together and then I'm holding it for a second. Again, another exercise would be due for 8 to 15 repetitions. Next is going to be the lunge. These are back step lunges that I'm going to show first. Dumbbells sit to the side. I step back with my right foot, flexing my knee. So this is a unilateral. And alternating would be alternating between steps. The front step, the weight's going to carry a little more forward because it's going to shift towards my front leg. Alternating, I'm just alternating feet. And this one we want to do anything from 8 to 12 repetitions. So those are basic lower body exercises that we can focus on. Now I'm going to show you some body weight exercises that we can focus. First of which is the straight leg up kick, where now I'm focusing unilaterally on the posterior, and I'm just kicking my legs straight up. The next is the leg curl, where I'm going to put 90 degrees of flexion on the knee. And the last one is going to be the unilateral hip bridge. So 2 ways I can do this. One, the active leg goes into extension and then flexion. Or non-active, the leg just stays elevated in more of a passive position. All those movements we want to do more in excess, 15 to 20 repetitions. Now, the focus is going to be upper body. So standing position with my dumbbells. I'm going to take them to 90 degrees. And I'm going to rotate my elbows in to about 45 degrees. Here, I'm going to lightly flex my knees. Press the dumbbells up and overhead. I don't want to let my elbows drop all the way down here because that's going to put some strain on the joint itself. These we want to keep in the 8 to 12 rep range. Next, the bent over row. Hinge position. Again, I set my chest and rib cage high. Drop them down to where their rib cage is sitting on the hips. Hinge. Rotate the dumbbells to supinated position so that my biceps are forward. And then I'm going to go into my row. These we can do for an 8 to 15 count. Next, supine position, floor press. This is one of 3 variations of chest exercises that I'm going to show you. So with these, because we have a lighter dumbbell, we can easily knock out 15 repetitions here. But the next 2 variations are going to be 8 to 15. They're going to be a little more challenging. So here I want to place the dumbbells in close grip proximity and then focus more center chest. The next one is the fly, where I want to go really wide now. Next, tricep exercise. I'm going to show you 2 different ones. This is the tricep extension, tricep skull crusher. I'm flexing my elbows at 90 degrees, bringing the dumbbells to my eye vision, between my eye and my forehead. And we can do these for an 8 to 15 count. Next, standing position, back into my hinge. Tucking my elbows up high. This is the tricep kickback. This one we can do for 8 to 12 repetitions. Next, onto the biceps. 2 curl variations I'm going to show you. The standard supinated curl, where I curl the dumbbells up just above 90 degrees. You see that point where the wrist is above the elbow. This we can do for 8 to 15. And then the hammer curl. This, I'm flexing my elbows at 90 degrees, but I'm going slightly internal with a neutral grip. This we can also do for 8 to 15 repetitions. Now we're going to move to the kettlebell. So compound exercises with our kettlebell. The first of which is going to be the squat to upright row, where I'm focusing on 2 body parts, quadriceps and shoulders. These compound movements, we can do anywhere from 8 to 15 repetitions. So that's one. This is another sort of variation of that for the quads and shoulders. This is a goblet squat. So I'm grabbing the kettlebell, neutral grips, squat, stand, overhead press. I can even flip the kettlebell, bell side up. But you want to be a little more careful with this since it can internally rotate, and it's likely a little more challenging to maintain stability of that. So just showing you the 2 different grip options. We can also grip the actual bell here. Just be careful when pressing up, we don't hit the chin because now we have this handle extended. So 3 different variations with that goblet squat into overhead press. Next is going to be the unilateral row with RDL. So hinge for my hamstrings and posterior, row for my lats. And again, this is an RDL with a kettlebell row. This is something we can do 8 to 12 repetitions each side. Next is the kettlebell RDL into upright row. Same as with the squat, but instead of quadriceps active, this is more posterior and hamstring. Again, something that we can do in the 8 to 15 rep range. Next, unilateral. The suitcase squat. This is going to be one of the more challenging exercises because it's a unilateral load with the bilateral setup. And that we can do for an 8 to 12 repetition count. And then same on this side. Okay, so now some upper body weight exercises. I'm going to show you 4 different. This one takes place from prone position. So I'm flat on my stomach. I have my hands in push-up position. I'm going to push up into plank, plank into downward dog, and then back down. So this is a good way to build strength into our push-ups by not doing push-ups off of our knees. There's no progression from that point, but if we can learn to push up into plank here, then you're able to build more strength in your push-up and all the muscles that you need for your push-ups. So that's going to be variation 1. Variation 2, push up, but now alternating reach back. Push up to plank, alternating reach back. So each of those movements we can do for a 4 rep count all the way up to a 12 rep count. Next is going to be the plank position, knee extension with internal rotations. So I'm driving my knee forward, flexing my hip, both at 90 degrees, and then internally rotating. That we can do for anything from a 10 to 20, 25 rep count per side. Last one, dead bug setup. This is going to be one of the strictest movements that you do. I'm bringing my knees in really tight to elevate my posterior. I'm bringing my elbows in really tight to elevate my shoulders. Here, I'm going to alternate extend while still maintaining the integrity of that rounded spine. And these we can do upwards of 20, 25